Good day and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob. Thanks for joining me. In our most recent post, as we're moving now towards winding down this particular series here at your Vitality Project, this series has been on managing difficult emotions. In our most recent post, we picked one more, I think, especially unpleasant emotion, namely dread. Our homework exercise included your identifying, then analyzing your greatest dread. And chances are, if you really opened yourself up to this exercise, that you probably experienced some resurgence of what we've been discussing here all along as red alert brain, because red alert brain definitely can be triggered by dread. Painful feelings of any kind, anxiety, stress, depression, sadness, any of these can evoke red alert brain, and dread certainly does. So for today, what I'd like to do is see what happens if we come at this difficult emotion, dread, but from a calmer place. Rather than red alert brain, is it possible for us to move into resting brain as we approach this very unpleasant feeling? Is there a way for us to ground ourselves or center ourselves in our minds and bodies so that we have maybe a leg up in addressing something that otherwise is loathsome? So to aid in that, what I want to do is I want to start with 5 minutes, or encourage you to start with 5 minutes of mindfulness practice. You can see any of our previous posts where we've discussed mindfulness of the breath. Here at your Vitality Project, we've had any number of posts addressing this. And I just provide simple instructions for what I think of as a very user-friendly form of meditation and centering yourself. You're welcome to use that. If you have another method you prefer, that's fine too. The key is to use something that you've developed and have practiced, because we're dealing with a formidable emotion here with dread. Once you've completed that 5-minute meditation, and don't proceed until you've done that, I'd like you to revisit the previous exercise. We called it the greatest dread map. I'd like you to go back to that. You remember that you wrote down your most dreaded situation. Perhaps it's in a relationship, or perhaps it's a work-related task or a school-related task, something like that. And then I ask you to spin off of that with various thoughts that emerge organically. And then I ask you to look at how you felt about that. We'll go back to that same map, this time after having meditated and calmed your body, ideally moving into resting brain for 5 minutes, and ask yourself the same question, except this time on the other side of meditation. One is, how does reviewing this particular dread feel to me now after having spent 5 minutes in mindfulness? Remember, just on a scale of 1 to 10, how stressed does it make me feel now? That's what we're looking at. That's the first one. The second one is, how do I think and feel now about any storylines that may be attached to this dread? And we talked about depressor storylines that send us into a shame spiral. We talked about fixer storylines that are not unassociated to addictive behaviors, ways that we try to get away from unpleasant feelings like dread. How do you think about those now, having spent a few minutes centering your mind and body? And then thirdly, ask yourself, how do I think and feel now about any inner requirements or expectations that were linked to this dread? For example, the expectation that I shouldn't have to feel this. How does that circulate now for you, having spent a few minutes just calming your mind and your body? I'm going to be curious to see what you find. Okay, I'd like you to do these exercises. Come back and join me again. Soon we'll be wrapping up this series, and we'll tie in this last exercise when we do that. Between now and when I see you next, please stay safe, be well, and take good care, and I'll see you again soon.